Hi and welcome to the Felt Hub with Lincolnshire Crafts. My name is Sandy. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make perfect pumpkins in around 15 minutes. Yes, it literally takes around 15 minutes to make one of these pumpkins. Maybe a bit longer when you first start, but they are absolutely beautiful, so easy to make, and you can have all sorts of embellishments on them, but I've kept them really simple. I've added these crochet leaves that I got from this fabulous small independent shop, but you can easily needle felt the leaves on as well, which are on another video tutorial which I will pop on at the end. So thanks for joining me. Make sure you subscribe down below and hit the notification bell, because that's important. If you don't do that, you won't get notifications about any new videos that come up, and I put them on quite regularly. So without further ado, let's make some pumpkins. Let's get started then. Okay, what you will need is one needle. That's all I use for this. I've got a 38 star here, good all-rounder. As some of you may already know, my favourite needle. Also use a 40 star for different projects, which is finer. 36 very rarely. So it's usually a 38 gauge star needle, good all-rounder. I've got a rice mat here with a felt topper on. It's one of my double-sided rice mats that are in the shop. I'll pop the links for everything in the description. And also you can work on foam, works just as well. Again, make sure you use the topper for that, just to protect it. It will make it last 10 times as long if you do so. Any topper, kind of wool topper or wool blend topper, works best, I find. What you will need, now I'm using this core wool. Each pumpkin takes around, I think there's about 7 grams inside here, and that's what we're going to be using to create the nice soft core. So this isn't a firm felt, this is a really nice soft felt, so we can create that plump pumpkin shape. And then what I really wanted to do was show you just some little blending techniques. So I don't know if you can see that there, but we've got this lovely sort of zingy yellow with this orange underneath coming through. I'll show you how to do that. And then a really simple stalk that I've added, and I'll show you a couple of ways to do that as well. So what I have, I'm using carded wool for this, and the carded batting sheets are fabulous because you can basically just wrap them around the core that we are going to create. So today I'm going to make this one. I'm going to have orange as the base, and then I'm going to have zingy yellow on top, but I'm going to leave gaps so we've got lots of orange coming through. And then this one is done exactly the same way, except it has this red for the base, which is really, really nice. And then you can either create the lines yourself, or what I'm going to show you is how it's super quick to just add lines with some wool top. It's just so fast and so effective, and I really like the effect it gives you. And then everything is kind of gathered on the base, and it's all really neat and sort of well packaged, just as a pumpkin should be. So let's get going then. Core wool, as I said, about 7 grams. Now this is core wool that is in short lengths. It's quite lofty. This is just a blend of different British wools. Not sure what they are, but I do know that they are British. This is the one that I'm using anyway. And you can find the core wool in my shop. Again, I'll pop the link below for all the things that we'll be using in today's video. Grab hold of this wool. Like I say, it's a handful, a soft handful. And we're just going to bring everything kind of towards the center. And then we're going to take our needle and we're just going to poke that in. And can you see how immediately we are pulling it in and creating this nice round, plump, soft shape? And this takes no time at all. Because what we don't want a firm felt at all. We just want to create a shape. I mean, you can even, once it's starting to hold, you know, when we get the batting wrapped around it, we can shape it a little more. You can have it flatter, rounder, taller. So it's just really going around and tangling those fibres together. And be careful with your fingers. If you worried about pricking yourself with the needles because they are sharp, then use finger guards. I just, I don't get on so well with them, which is why I've not got them on, and I'm okay with this. And keep my hands out of the way. So if you just keep that hand just supporting it but flat. So I'm just whizzing around, turning it. And there we go, that's it. That's it. And you've got this sort of bread roll size ball of core wool there happening. And what I've done is the flat side is going to be the underneath, and where I've dragged all that wool in, we've got that nice shape at the top. So that is going to be my top. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to pop a layer of the orange on first. Now, with these carded batting sheets, because I don't want a thick layer, I want everything kind of showing through to add contrast and detail, you can actually separate them. So what you can do is actually make at least 2 pumpkins out of that. And I'm going to put a wool bundle together for this as well. So I'll drop that in the description. If you haven't got any of the wool, then you can pop over and just buy this as a simple wool bundle. So because that's going to be the top, I want the nice flat side on. And I'm going to just stretch it out. We want gaps. And if you're a perfectionist, this is going to be very difficult for you, having gaps, but this is what we want. And I'm going to pull that around. And this carded batting is what will secure the core wool inside and help us create a really nice shape. And just pull those pieces around. And because carded wool is short fibres, when we're making something like a pumpkin and we want to remove wool, if we've got excess wool without spoiling the shape, it's really easy. And again, just pull that around. Use your needle just to drag that around. Got quite a lot going on here, so I'm going to pull that over. I'm just going to take that away. And we can tidy it up, but we just really want to secure it underneath. So everything's going to be underneath and not visible. And then just go around those sides with your needle. Keep your hand flat just to support it and out of the way. And you can also use your hands. You see what I'm doing there? You've got that really nice shape. And your hands can do a lot of the work. So there we go. We've got our first layer on. And as you can see, there's patches, which is good. That's what we want. So I'm now going to go to the sort of zingy yellow that I have here. I'm going to split that. And because it's really zingy, I'm going for a less is more approach to this. So I'm just going to pull more off. And I'm really going to, so I've got a little bit of a gap there, so I'll probably have more, just have a look at it. I'll probably put more yellow there. And I'm just going to pull that off. And then what's going to happen is we're going to really drag that out. I'm just going to bring that up so you can see that. And can you see all that orange that's poking through? And look how lovely that contrast is. So bring that round, bring it underneath, and do exactly as you did with the orange batting. Drag it around to secure, use your fingers, pull that over. I mean, is this not the easiest tutorial ever? And if you are a really nervous beginner, this is a perfect needle felting tutorial to start with. And the joy of needle felting is there's no tricky patterns. There's rarely any sewing unless you're adding embellishments and embroidery embellishments. And even as an experienced and seasoned needle felter, every year I love making pumpkins. It doesn't matter whether you're a beginner, you've been doing it for years. There's always joy to be found in needle felting a pumpkin. And look at that, that's absolutely beautiful. You see you've got that lovely contrast and detail. So that's it. The shape is pretty much ready. And again, don't worry about it being slightly misshapen because that's all going to change in a moment. Now, I like to use wool tops to create these sections, these pumpkin sections, because you can really pull tightly on them without them breaking. So the difference with the wool top is that everything's brushed in the same direction, so they're longer lengths, whereas carded wool is brushed in different directions and ends up with lots of short fibres. And both can be used for the same projects quite a lot of the time, but other projects, certain wools work better. And that's what I try and show you in all my video tutorials. Now you could go, I'm going for something that's not particularly contrasting, but you could also use a really nice contrasting wool as well. So it's entirely up to you, whatever you've got in your box. Like I say, if you're buying the bundle, then you'll get these wools in your little bag. So I'm going to, that's the top of the pumpkin. I'm going around and I'm just going to hold that in the center at the base. Don't worry if it's not dead center. And just where that end is, just poke it in. And what you want to do is you want to pull that quite tight. Can you see how that's creating, it's like a little peachy bottom. It's pulling that in, and that's how we are creating the shape. And that's what makes this so easy and so effective. There we go. That's the top. So then we're going to take another layer. And if you wanted, if you've got different colours, which I have here, I might just add a little strip in there just for some contrast. Pull that over, so work with one side, hold with your fingers, keep going through the same place with your needle, and then pull that around, see, to create that dimple. Don't worry about any loose bits, we'll come back and trim those. And then I'm just noticed a little lump there, so I'm just going to felt that in. Really gentle pokes with the needle as well. We're not being gung-ho about this, we're just tacking that wool down because we don't want to lose the shape. And then another piece across the centre, so I'm going to make 8 sections here. You can do less if you want, but I always do 8. There we go. And then we're going to have one more section here. I'm just going to bring that across a little bit. Lay that there, and I'm just going to take a little piece there just for a contrast again. Just sort of kind of want it just visible. Bring that to the center. Felt in. I mean, how fast is this? Crazy fast. So I think we're at about 12.5 minutes, and I must have spent, oh, just lost that there, but that's okay because I'll just take that off again. Pull that out. I said we're about 12.5 minutes, and I spent a few minutes just jabbering away about technique and what we were going to be doing and what tools to use. So there we go, that's a bit better. So you can see there, now we can have a good look at it and see where there's any sort of misshapen areas. I'm just going to work around. And don't worry if every section's not completely equal. So can you see, this is what we've got now. This gorgeous pumpkin shape. And then if you wanted to, you could make that a bit deeper and squash that with your hands just to make that height and depth show a little more. There we go. So don't worry about that there. We're going to cover that up. What I want to show you now is how we make this stalk. Now, you can do it 2 ways. You can either wrap the wool around the barbecue skewer and do it that way, but I'm going to show you a super fast way to do it with the wools that we've been using. So I have here, have some yellow, and I have some orange, and I'm going to chuck in a bit of wool top as well, so they all blend together, and just grab the whole lot with your hands, because we do want a contrast, slight contrast. So we've got a nice blend of 3 colours in here. There we go. Just take a lump, don't be precious about it, and then roll it tight, tuck in that end, leave one end loose, because that is the part that's going to attach to the pumpkin. And again with this, we want it firm, but it doesn't matter if it's not super firm and perfectly shaped. It's not important. It's just one of those projects where it just doesn't matter. And that's what makes this particular project such a joy. I also, as well, if you want to have a look, I have, I think, 3 or 4 other pumpkin video tutorials on here. There's winter pumpkins, the Winter Wonderland pumpkins. They are gorgeous. They are made with whites and greys and blues and silks and silk cobwebs, and they are gorgeous because I hate taking my pumpkins down. So I thought I would do winter pumpkins that can stay up all over Christmas. There we go. And don't worry about any lines, because we'll lose those. And you can always wrap. You see, we've got some lines and odd shapes going on here, but you can always wrap a little bit more wool around. So we want the top of the stalk to be wider. And then this is where you might want to use guards, but if you're doing it like this, I think I've got ink on my fingers, so apologies. You want to flatten that end. You see what I'm doing? I'm going straight in. So that end's now nice and flat. And then what I want to do is just bring these edges in, leaving that end loose. And can you see how that's really coming together now? And then actually just roll it in your hands to firm it up. My hands are quite dry at the moment, but if you've got hands that are a little bit tacky, it's easier. So I've lost that end there. So I'm just going to go back and flatten that end again. And if you keep your hands there flat across, then you will avoid poking yourself if you haven't got the finger guards. And there we go. You see? And we've got this nice loose area which is going to go there. And then what you could also do with the wool that you have here, you could just lay it flat, create a really simple leaf shape. So just sort of draw a line with your needle and then bring in the wool around the edge of that line where you feel resistance. It will stop. Turn it over and continue. You may want to use a multi-tool for this. And you want to get that nice and flat and firm. This doesn't want to be lofty. And you see how quickly you're actually creating that shape. And then I have a multi-tool here. This is my punch tool, but you could just tape 2 needles together. Make sure the guard's off. So this has 7 needles, but I've taken 2 out because I was working on foam earlier and it works better with 5 needles on foam. But if you're using a rice mat, then you can, easily keep the 7 needles in. And that is a super fast way of flat felting. I've just done a new tutorial. It was a Cornish sort of seacoast picture, and I used that quite a lot, and it just really speeded up the process. But if you're not doing a lot of flat felting, you don't need one. You can just do it by hand, but it is a really useful tool. And can you see how that's really coming together now? And then you can shape, use your fingers and shape these ends, get a little point going on. And there we go. Can you see how we've got that lovely leaf shape? Now with these, I've got these beautiful crochet leaves. So what I did was I just popped a leaf under there, because these are cotton. Like I said, I didn't make them. I found a fabulous sort of handmade shop, and then you would just pop that on there. I'm just going to pull some of that off. And the same, if you were adding the leaf that you've just felted, you'd pop that on. But I'm just going to leave this without a leaf. And this area here that we've left loose is quite important, because what it means is we've got all this lovely fresh wool that we can use to attach it to the top of that pumpkin. So can you see how easily that's going on? And because we've blended all that, those three colours together, we've got a really nice contrast, so it really pops. And it may not have been 15 minutes, it was 20 minutes, but I still think that's pretty good going. From wool to pumpkin in 20 minutes, and they look glorious. So make sure you subscribe, as I said before, for notifications. Hope you enjoyed that quick tutorial, and looking forward to seeing all the wonderful pumpkins you make. You can drop me a line on my Instagram or Facebook and share me your photographs, and have a great time learning how to make these gorgeous, perfect pumpkins. Thanks so much for joining me.